Good morning, everybody. This is Lisa Kendall, and I want to talk to you today a little bit about ageism. I've been posting about that quite a bit and really doing a lot of work here behind the scenes on getting ready for an in-depth look at ageism and how it affects our physical and emotional health and how it actually harms our larger culture. So stay tuned. I'll give you a little bit of information about that online book study and discussion that's coming up. But for right now, I just wanted to touch base with you and let you know a little bit more about why I'm talking about this topic. First, I want to tell you a story about a very close family friend who was an older person who actually slipped and fell, and they felt like they hurt their knee. And after that happened, the person became extremely cautious about walking, became fearful and apprehensive when making transitions, like getting in and out of a car or going up and down stairs, just very, very cautious. From my perspective, as someone who looks at strengths and who looks at strengths, especially during elderhood, I would have said that the person was adapting to a situation that felt dangerous to them. The physician in this situation, however, felt that the person was exhibiting an unrealistic caution and that there was something psychologically wrong with them. So they were referred for counseling. Fortunately, in that situation, the family was very involved and really spoke up for the person. When I saw our friend, I couldn't believe the change in their appearance. They looked very flat. The face seemed sad. There just had been so many changes. I didn't see any of the liveliness showing in that person that I was used to. So I tuned in to what was happening with them. And what I learned was that the family and the therapist had both worked really hard to get a second opinion from a specialist. And so our friend went to see a neurologist, and sure enough, they were diagnosed with Parkinson's. Parkinson's is treatable and it's manageable. And when our friend started taking the medication for Parkinson's, they perked right up. They re-engaged with family members. They re-engaged with friends. They were involved with book studies and theater and attending their grandchildren's activities, and really a lively part of a social circle and of a community and of a family. And all of that had been taken away when their Parkinson's was undiagnosed. And I'm not saying that this particular physician was ageist. None of us are ageist on purpose. We don't do it consciously, but there is so much ageism in our culture. We all carry it to some extent. And I have seen way too often healthcare providers say, well, this is just what happens when you get older. A lot of symptoms are not addressed. And I could go on all day about this, so I'm not gonna go into a lot of depth, but I wanna let you know that ageism does hurt us. It keeps us from getting proper health care. It can confuse what's going on with us physically and emotionally and in terms of our interactions with our social connections and our families. So I wanna talk about it. Again, my name is Lisa Kendall. I'm a social worker and gerontologist. I've been doing this work with unbelievable joy and gratitude for over 40 years. Ageism is at the root of a lot of our problems in this country with healthcare, with long-term care, and with, in general, quality of life for people as they get older. So I do want to talk about that today. And I want to start with a definition of ageism. Ageism, according to the World Health Organization in 2017, they defined ageism as stereotyping, prejudice, and discrimination against people on the basis of their age. It's true that ageism cuts both ways, that we can be ageist about young people, assuming that they're not very competent or that they don't have their own wisdom or perspective in the world. But ageism disproportionately affects people as they get older. So that's the kind of ageism I'm talking about today. We see ageism in how elders are depicted in the media. We see it in our social policies, and we do see it in workplace discrimination, starting as young as when people are in their 40s. Why on earth this happens can only be attributed to ageism, because many studies have shown that older workers are loyal, they're effective, they can do the job. So things like mandatory retirement plans, that's a sign of a social policy or an organizational policy that discriminates. But there is a lot of workplace discrimination for olders as they get older. Olders, by the way, is the term that Ashton Applewhite uses to refer to older people in her book, This Chair Rocks, a Manifesto Against Ageism, which happens to be the book that we're studying in our upcoming program. Again, ageism hurts everybody. Younger people, in fact, who hold ageist views are actually more likely to have poor health in later life and to die earlier. Older adults fare much worse when they carry internalized views that are ageist and when they are subjected to ageism from others. So what can we do about ageism? We can start by becoming aware of our attitudes about aging, about older people themselves, and about the phase of life that we call elderhood, which is a distinct developmental stage where growth happens, not just decline, and where people do have strengths and they have developmental tasks to complete. One other thing we can do is embrace our own age wherever we are along the lifespan. The truth is we all age at the same rate, a second at a time, a minute at a time, a day, a month, a year at a time. And to speak out against ageism wherever we see that happening in all of its forms. When we see a depiction in the media that makes it look like all elders have memory loss, or they're all frail, or they're all weak, or people who do live with frailty somehow don't have something to contribute, because that's ageism too. When we try to divide elders into people who are older but just look like adults and are still active and doing everything that they can do, against people who may have health issues, who may live with cognitive challenges, and who may appear more frail. When we discount these folks, again, we're hurting them and we're hurting ourselves, because we're cutting ourselves off from tremendous opportunities to connect, to share joy, and to learn and grow ourselves. Helping children develop more positive ideas about older people is another thing that we can do. And noticing language. We're going to talk a lot in the book study about language and how we use it in ourselves and in others. And again, none of us are doing this on purpose, but it does happen. And in our culture, ageist language is pretty prevalent. It happens a lot. Another thing we can do is let me back up. Noticing the language of ageism, I already mentioned, and I do want to say that in the course, we are going to have some really good resources for you about that. So I'm talking about the course. The course is centered around Ashton Applewhite's groundbreaking book, This Chair Rocks, a Manifesto Against Ageism. And each week in our study, we will go over one chapter, starting with the introductory chapter, which is really juicy and worth reading. If you tend to skip introductions, don't skip this one. You're going to want it. Every week, starting on the 24th of this month, which is this coming Monday, and I'm speaking to you from January of 2022. So on January 24th, we will release information about that introductory chapter. And then on Friday, January 28th, we will have a live meeting to go deeper, to find out what really spoke to you, what is coming up for you as you read it. Do you agree? Do you not agree? And what can we do about ageism in ourselves and in people around us and in our larger culture. Along with the materials that we're releasing every week, you will find interesting videos and articles and resources that will help you along the way, as well as discussion prompts, so you can communicate through our course platform. We have a discussion board. You'll be able to talk back and forth with other participants. And again, we have the live sessions on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, starting the 28th of January. And these will be recorded, so if you can't attend, you'll be able to watch the replay of that inside the course. So the chapters, I just want to go briefly through them. The introduction, as I said, is well worth reading and diving into. And then the first chapter would be our second week of the program. And we talk there about what is the problem with ageism. That's the name of the chapter. The second chapter is called Our Ages, Ourselves, and it goes into the subject of identity. And then the third chapter talks about memory and the older brain. In the fourth chapter, we're going to explore health rather than youth as a measure of wellness. So that is talking about the older body and how it works. In the sixth week, we'll be reviewing the fifth chapter. We'll be talking about sex and intimacy. And on the sixth chapter, we'll be talking about the workplace. Then we'll be talking about long life being a team sport and the problem with independence. The United States is very, very attached to the idea of independence. We were founded on it. But what does it mean when it comes to being older? What does it mean when it comes to being a human, living in relationship with others, whether they're your neighbors or your family members or your larger community? Independence is a trap. So we're going to talk about that. The eighth chapter talks about the end of life. And in the final chapter, we'll talk about what do we do next? What's beyond ageism? So these are the chapters that we'll be covering in the book. And we're really excited to be bringing that information to you. I want to let you know that to register, if you don't have a place right now where you can jot down some information, you can go to my website, and that's lisakendallconsulting.com. And in the middle section of the homepage, so right what you get to there is information that'll give you a link for more information and how to register. We have set up different price points. So if you're a student or a retiree, you can register for a very low price. We have a standard price, and then we really welcome benefactors at a higher price point, still super affordable considering the time that we will spend together and the really quality conversations that we'll be sharing, is for people who feel like they can afford a little bit more and who want to support the program and help other people attend. By the way, this program is being co-hosted and co-sponsored by the Finger Lakes Geriatric Education Center at the Ithaca College Gerontology Institute. I am so grateful to have been affiliated with the Gerontology Institute for many years, as I think going back 20 years, during which time I've served as a community advisory board member, and since 2011 to 2019, when I relocated physically, I had the privilege to teach their award-winning fieldwork in gerontology course. So I'm thrilled to welcome the Gerontology Institute and the Finger Lakes Geriatric Education Center to this program and to welcome their sponsorship. So again, you can register at lisakendallconsulting.com. And underneath this video, in the comments section, I will also put a link for registration if you want more information. And we're going to keep this conversation going. So that's something that I can promise you and that we will definitely take care of for you. So thanks for joining me today. I'm Lisa Kendall, and we are doing a deep dive into ageism in all its forms and impacts. And I hope to see you there. Thanks and take care. Bye-bye.